Jack sat at his kitchen table, sipping his coffee and scanning the morning paper. He had just finished paying off his car loan, but he still had a substantial amount of debt to his name. He was starting to feel the weight of his financial burden, and he desperately needed a way out. As he flipped through the pages, a small ad caught his eye. $1 million to the winner of the game, it read. There wasn't much detail about the game, and it only stated the winner would receive a life-changing sum of money. Jack knew he had to enter the competition. The thought of finally being debt-free was too tempting to resist. He quickly filled out the entry form and hit send. He didn't expect to hear back from the organizers, but 3 days later, he received an email inviting him to a meeting at the Alcom station. Jack arrived at the station precisely at the time he was instructed to meet the coordinator. He looked around nervously, scanning the area for any sign of him. But as the minutes ticked by, he began to grow anxious. What if the game was just a scam? What if he had been duped? Suddenly, a sinking feeling hit him in the pit of his stomach. What if the coordinator had already left and he had missed his chance? He tried to keep calm, but his heart was pounding in his chest. Eventually, after waiting for what felt like an eternity, Jack realized that the coordinator was a no-show. Feeling defeated and disappointed, he began to make his way back to his car. But then something inside him snapped. He couldn't just give up now. He had come too far. Determined not to let this opportunity slip away, Jack started to run around the station, frantically asking anyone he could find if they had seen the game master. After several minutes of searching, he spotted an old man standing alone at the end of the station. "Excuse me," Jack said, panting. "Are you the coordinator?" The old man looked at him with a twinkle in his eye. "Congratulations, Jack," he said. "You just passed the first test of the game." He introduced himself as the game master and congratulated Jack for his determination. With a nod, he directed Jack towards a car parked nearby, instructing him to get in. Jack felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as he climbed inside, wondering what lay ahead. The game reward of $1 million could change his life, and he was willing to do whatever it took to win. Jack sat in the back of the car, his heart racing with anticipation. He was blindfolded, and the game master had instructed him not to remove it until he arrived at his destination. The car journeyed on for what felt like hours, and Jack eventually fell asleep, lulled into a sense of security by the hum of the engine. When he woke up, the car had come to a full stop, and the game master was helping him remove the blindfold. As Jack's eyes adjusted to the light, he saw a huge, rustic-looking mansion looming in front of him. It was beautiful and eerie at the same time, and Jack couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine. Once inside the mansion, Jack saw the other contestants. They were a motley crew, ranging from young college students to grizzled veterans. The game master gathered them around and started to brief them about the game. "Welcome to the game," he said. "Before we start, there are a few rules you need to follow. Rule 1. Everyone needs to sign a contract. Rule 2. All of you can play alone or as a team. Rule 3. Your task is to find 3 ancient relic coins. Rule 4. You can use whatever resources you can find in this mansion. Rule 5. The game will last for 3 days. Rule 6. Anyone who leaves the mansion will be disqualified. The prize money will be credited to your account in 3 days if you win," the game master said. "Now, take a look at the contract and sign it." Jack scanned the contract and noticed a strange term. It stated that any injury sustained during the game would not be compensated. He hesitated for a moment, but then he thought about the debt he was in, and he knew he couldn't back out now. One by one, the contestants signed the contract. After some mingling, the teams were formed. There are a total of 4 teams: Sue, Phil and Mandy in Team 1. James, Alfred, Candice and Pam in Team 2. Jill and Ken in Team 3. Jack felt relieved that he was not forced to join any team. He knew that he worked best alone and he did not want to risk being dragged down by others. However, he couldn't help but wonder if it was a mistake not to have formed any alliances. He decided to keep an eye on the others and see if he could form any beneficial partnerships. At dinner, Jack listened as the others talked about their backgrounds and reasons for joining the game. He found out that most of them were struggling with debts and financial problems, just like him. It made him wonder if they would all end up back at square one after the game, regardless of who won. After dinner, they all gathered in the living room. The game master appeared and reminded him of the rules. He warned them that the game would not be easy and that they would face challenges that would test their limits. Jack decided to stay at the back of the group and observe. He noticed that some of the teams were already arguing and bickering over the clues. He was glad that he had chosen to work alone. He looked at the map and started to plan his strategy. He knew that he had to be careful and avoid getting caught up in any unnecessary drama. He was determined to win the game and claim the prize money. As soon as the game master left, the contestants eagerly started exploring the mansion and its surroundings. Jack decided to head straight to the study. Team 1 went to the graveyard, Team 2 to the garden, and Team 3 to the basement. Jack was in awe of the design of the study. It was filled with ancient books of all kinds, and he was amazed at the vast collection. He spent hours searching through the shelves, reading through the pages of different books. As he was about to give up, he noticed a carving of a few symbols under the table. He quickly recognized the symbols and realized that he had come across them before while searching through the books. With newfound excitement, he went back to the shelf that contained the symbol and started searching through the books once again. After several minutes of searching, he finally found the book he was looking for. As he flipped through the pages, he realized that the last page was glued to the hardcover. Carefully peeling it back, an ancient relic coin fell out of the book. Jack couldn't believe his luck. He had found the first relic coin on the first day of the game. He knew that the other contestants would be hot on his heels, searching for the remaining coins. Team 1 returned to the main hall, shaken from their encounter at the graveyard. Sue was visibly pale and trembling, and Phil and Mandy were trying to console her. They decided to take a break and have some breakfast before continuing their search for clues. Team 3, on the other hand, was disappointed that they couldn't proceed with their exploration of the basement due to the overpowering stench and the swarm of rats. They regrouped in the living room with Jill and Ken and shared their experiences. They realized that there might be some clues in the kitchen, so they decided to check it out after breakfast. Team 2 found nothing at the garden too, but some strange things happened when Candice decided to pluck one of the roses in the garden. She got pricked by it and soon after, all the roses withered to gray. Meanwhile, Jack, who had found the first relic coin, was feeling confident and determined to find more. He explored the entire first floor of the mansion, including the library and the conservatory. He found some interesting books and artifacts but nothing related to the game. He decided to take a break and join the others for breakfast. As breakfast was served, Candice was nowhere to be found. They wondered if she had left the mansion or if something had happened to her. Team 2 searched the entire floor of the living quarters for any sign of her, but to no avail. Everyone decided to continue the game despite her disappearance. Meanwhile, Team 1 headed to the swimming pool. They had heard rumors that the relic coin might be hidden there. Team 3, on the other hand, decided to focus on the living room. They believed that there might be a clue hidden somewhere in the room. They searched the entire area, from the bookshelves to the curtains, but still couldn't find anything that would lead him to the relic coin. As for Jack, he had decided to explore the barn outside the mansion. He had a hunch that there might be something hidden there. After a few hours of searching, he finally found a secret latch door under the hay. He had to use all his strength to pull down one of the lamp holders, which finally unlocked the door. Jack was ecstatic as he had found the second relic coin. He couldn't wait to see the expression on the other contestants' faces when he shows them what he found. He hurriedly made his way back to the mansion, eager to share his discovery with the others. But as he entered the living room, he noticed that Candice had still not returned. He wondered if something terrible had happened to her. Team 1 arrived at the swimming pool, a beautiful and grand pool house with high ceilings and mosaic tiles. They began their search, scanning the area for any clues or signs of the relic coin. After just 15 minutes, Phil shouted with excitement as he found a glimmering silver relic coin at the bottom of the pool. The team was ecstatic, thinking that their luck had finally turned around. But as they turned to leave, they saw a ghostly figure floating on top of the pool. He was a handsome young man with fiery red hair, and fire seemed to come out of his fingertips. Mandy froze on the spot, her eyes fixed on the eerie figure. The young man spoke in a deep, menacing voice, warning them to leave the mansion at once. Suddenly, without warning, the young man aimed a burst of flames at Mandy, who burst into flames. She screamed in terror and agony as she burned to a crisp right before their eyes. Sue was horrified and overwhelmed by the sight, and she vomited uncontrollably. Phil grabbed her and shouted for her to run as they made their escape from the pool house. As they ran through the mansion, their thoughts raced with questions about what had just happened. Who was that young man? What did he want? And most of all, how could they stay alive in this treacherous game of survival? The team was left shaken and traumatized by the horrific events at the pool house, but they knew that they had to keep pushing forward if they wanted to find the remaining relic coins and ultimately win the game. As Team 2 explored the living quarters, they were disappointed to find nothing of significance in any of the rooms. They had been searching for hours and were about to give up when James stumbled upon a rustic key. He wasn't sure what it was for, but he kept it just in case. It was then that Pam noticed a painting on the wall where all the children in the portrait were looking in the same direction. She followed their gaze to a wooden wall that seemed out of place. Curiosity got the better of her, and she pushed it. The wall opened up, revealing a hidden door. Excitedly, James rushed over and tried the key on the lock, and to their surprise, it worked. They found themselves in a secret room with an altar. The sight that greeted them was unsettling. A big bowl filled with blood could be seen, and the place looked like it was used for some kind of ritual. Bones were scattered around the altar, and the whole place made them uneasy. They quickly concluded that they didn't want to stay there for long, and decided to leave the room as soon as possible. They locked the door with the key and left it as they found it. Meanwhile, Team 3, consisting of Jill and Ken, had no luck finding anything of interest for the whole night. They were starting to feel discouraged and hoped for better luck in the following rounds. It was 8 a.m., and everyone gathered for breakfast, but Candice still hadn't shown up. Sue and Phil looked shaken up, and after some questioning, the group realized that Mandy was now dead. No one could explain what was going on, and none of the contestants were willing to give up. They were all here for the prize money, which would change their lives. The group fell silent, hoping to find the remaining relic coins and win the game. The other 3 teams went to search the other areas, while Jack decided to search the basement. The smell was unbearable, but he braved through it. Jack was shocked when he discovered Candice's body in one corner of the basement. Her whole body and face had been consumed by the rats. Jack only recognized her by the bracelet she wore on the first day and the shoes she wore. The rats had eaten through her body, and some were even nesting in her stomach and crawling out of it. The sight was unbearable, but the worst came when Jack saw a shiny reflection in the stomach of Candice. He reached out his hand, slowly into the decaying body, feeling the squishy of the remaining intestines with rats brushing by, and pulled out the last piece of the golden relic coin. Jack immediately vomited all the food he had eaten that day and was overwhelmed with disgust. As the grandfather clock struck 3 a.m., Jack discovered the last relic coin and everyone was called back to the main hall of the mansion. The game master announced that Jack was the winner, having found the 3 gold coins while the rest of the contestants only found silver coins. Jack was instructed to insert the 3 gold coins into a wooden device which unveiled an ancient, rustic key. He was then instructed to use the key on the grandfather clock. As he turned the key, the clock struck its last chime, and a loud sound shook the ground. Suddenly, The main hall came to life. Torches lit up on their own and red blood streamed across the floorboards, forming ancient symbols. The contestants standing on the symbols screamed in pain, their life force being sucked out of them. They started to age, their hair turning white and wrinkles appearing. Jack realized that the life energy was being channeled to the game master. The game master exclaimed, "Yes, yes, yes, another 300 years to live," as the life force channeled into him. But suddenly, a loud bang could be heard and the game master dropped down dead. Jack had fired a shot from his pistol, killing the game master. As soon as the game master died, the life energy escaped from his body and returned to the contestants, restoring their youth. Everyone was shocked at what had happened. After the shocking events in the main hall, the police and forensic team arrived at the mansion. Jack revealed to them that he was actually an undercover cop who had been investigating cases of missing people for years. He had finally uncovered the truth behind the game and the game master, who was actually a cultist using these tactics to lure his victims. It was discovered that the game master needed someone to activate the sacrifice ritual instead of himself, and the game was designed to find the winner that would do so, with the contestants being the sacrificial victims. After the investigation, the mansion was locked down and taken into police custody. Jack and the other contestants were released and sent home. It was a traumatic experience for all of them, and they tried to move on with their lives. 3 days later, Jack checked his bank account at an ATM and was shocked to find an additional $1 million in it. He realized that it was the prize money from the game that had been deposited into his account. It was a bittersweet moment for him, as he knew that the money came at a great cost. The investigation continued, and more cultists were arrested in connection to the case. It was a gruesome reminder of the dangers of greed and desperation, and the lengths that some would go to in order to achieve their goals. As for Jack, he was grateful to have survived the game and to have been able to bring the cultists to justice. It was a case that would haunt him for years to come, but he knew that it was important to never forget the lessons that he had learned.